Hey there, this is Pamela Lewis, coming to you from Hampton Roads, Virginia, or should I say Tidewater, Coastal Virginia, 757, soon to be maybe 934 and 757. Anyway, I wanted to give you what my top five pros and cons are on this Naca loan that's hitting our streets in the Hampton Roads area. Now, Naca has been around for greater than 10 years. It sounds like to me from the session I went to this past Saturday, which was the Homebuyer Workshop, that they were around, I think back in the 90s, if I'm not mistaken. They started out as a union group, hotel, motel, union group, if I'm not mistaken also. And it looked like to me that they were able to find a couple of loopholes in the law with getting people into homes. It looks like to me they're kind of mafia style too, with beating up one of the largest banks, with them giving Naca like I think a couple of billion, like $10 billion to give out home loans. And they really got their I guess the boom of Naca came out when the market bottomed out in our area 10 years ago. So like in 2008, 2009, and I know around the country it kind of a year or 2 years difference. But it looks like to me they were able to beat up some of the banks to give them money for them not blowing the whistle on the things they were doing to minorities with lending them money with high rates. So their claim to fame is that, you know, we're not inflating our interest rates. We're not gouging you to do the loans. That's how we can do this program. And it kind of comes out to, it kind of seems like too good to be true. So, you know, I've been in real estate, so let me tell you what my pros and cons are, so you'll know in case you're looking to do a Naca loan. Now, you can go to their website. It's NACA.com. I know on social media people have had their own things that they think about Naca, so I'm going to give you my top five. So here are my pros about Naca. 1, there's no PMI. Now, what is PMI? If you have not bought a house, you will not even know what PMI is. But PMI is an additional cost that the lender adds on, and it's for the insurance that if one day you do foreclose, homeowner, which you most likely will not, they add on an additional fee to the loan. So in case you do foreclose, they have some money in a pot. So FHA, HUD, their loan product, they have PMI included in there. Do most people know what that is? Heck no. But it's part of your loan, and every time you add a little bit more fee to your loan, that means a little bit less house that you're able to purchase. So that's something for you to know. That would be my number one pro that Naca does not do. They do not charge you PMI. The next thing Naca does, there is no down payment. So I think that's what gets people in that door is that, whoa, there's no down payment. It's 100% financing. The workshop I went to in Chesapeake, Virginia, pulled in anywhere between 200 to 300 people. And they stated that they normally in our area, in the Hampton Roads area, will pull 200 to 300 people there. Their office right now is in Richmond. They're looking to get an office here in Chesapeake. Their agent that's part of their group too also comes down from Richmond to help out home buyers 3 days a week, I believe she states, and she wants you to drive past. Anyway, that's a whole another topic. But so yeah, there's no down payment. But what I was getting to is that they have 200 to 300 people that sit in this auditorium or in a church, and the main director of the group said 1 out of 3 will actually get a loan through Naca. And to me, it's like a funnel system. They get so many people in the sessions, and how they funnel you is through all this paperwork and hoops you have to jump through. So the third thing that is a pro that I saw for Naca is that it's not credit score driven. And I think that's another thing that gets people in the door, because you get everybody and your mama that got bad credit is at the session because they want to buy a house. Now, you have to really look at what they're saying is that, yes, it's not credit score driven. However, if you are currently behind on your credit cards, and you haven't paid anybody any money, you got your jewelry credit out, you owe credit card here or personal loan here, and you haven't paid anybody, Naca ain't giving you no money. So he told us that. So you got to know it's not credit score driven, but people do have bad credit who are paying their debt. He also stated with the credit is that if you owe anybody through judgments or collections, and it's greater than 2 years from when you're trying to get a Naca loan, is they do not want you to call the people. Do not pay it, because he said he doesn't want you to resurrect an old debtor so that they will come after you. So they want anything that's within 2 years, from the date today and then 2 years back, anything that is a judgment or a collection has to be paid off before they even get you pre-approved. The next thing is that they're going to pay your closing costs. So, closing costs, most buyers don't realize is that when you close on a home, it's not just your closing costs. You also have prepaids. Now, prepaids are like your money you owe to the local city or local county, depending on where you live. You owe taxes from the date you close on to the next date that the city or county collects its taxes. You also have homeowners insurance for your home. In the first year that you close on your home, they want a 1-year premium. So they want 1 year homeowners insurance collected at closing. Naca does not pay for that. They want you to pay for it. And then the next thing that I saw was, let me go back to prepaid. So one of the things they don't tell you, and I'll tell you, I have some other things that I saw that they didn't tell you. So when you do close on a loan, you have title insurance. Now, I'm not going to go too far in it. That'll be another video. But title insurance is to cover if any defects on the title work. So the lender always wants to get covered. The owner's title coverage is not normally required. Now, Naca does not pay for that. You have to pay for that. So that's some things that you got to know. It says no closing costs, but it does not talk to you about prepaids. And these are some things that you have to know as a buyer, because you're going to walk in thinking you have to come in with no money. They also do not pay for your home inspection. You pay for that. That's part of your closing costs. That's upfront money. Also, when you do a purchase of home, you have to do an earnest money deposit. It's kind of like a good faith, kind of like a security deposit until you purchase a home. It can get applied to your closing, to your prepaids. In this example for Naca. But you have to have money for that too. The one thing I did not figure out, I did not crack the code on it, and there is some agent training which I'm going to go through, which is who's paying for the appraisal, when does the appraiser get ordered out. So there's a major bank that is backing this loan. I would imagine they're using their appraiser to verify that the house is actually worth what you offer and what the seller is asking for. So that's another piece that I need to crack. The other thing is it's not income based. Let me tell you, it's not income based. This is huge because it doesn't matter where you work. It doesn't matter how much you make. You can make a little bit of money to a lot of money and you can get a Naca loan. He did make the example, like if you're a multimillionaire trying to get a Naca loan, they are going to, I guess what did they say? He said he would, ensure you would buy in certain areas. I don't really know what that means, but there were some examples too of people who purchased on this video. So they make you watch this video, this Homebuyer Workshop. You have to go from 10 to 2, and you have to listen to their video and all their information about the program. And I'll go further in that once I tell you things to know. So those are my pros. Top 5 would be it's no PMI, no down payment, no closing costs. It's not credit score driven, and it's not income based. Now, my cons. One of the big things they don't talk about, and you need to know this as a homeowner, once you own it, is that, the whole thing about home ownership is that you own the home, you have a piece of the pie, but when you move, you can always rent it out and become now a landlord. Start building wealth for your offspring. Well, once you move out of this house, in the book that they have, you have to then either sell it refinance it, but you better not move out and move anybody in, because it tells you in that book that they give you, they will foreclose on you in a heartbeat and charge you any fees that it costs for them to foreclose. Number 2, there is a lot of freaking paperwork that you have to do. So you need to be diligent on whatever they ask you for. Now, when I heard about Naca, it was 2 or 3 years ago. It wasn't in our area. I then have a buyer referral who says she's going to do Naca. So I went out to this group that I'm a part of on Facebook and asked these realtors and said, hey, what do you know about Naca? Most of them said it's a great program. Most of them said it worked for them. However, my number 2 is that it takes a lot of time. And that when I got the feedback from the other realtors was that, hey, they will delay you closing if the buyer does not turn in the paperwork. So what does that mean to you, buyer? It's time. So you got paperwork you got to turn in. You got a budget you got to make. You got to show them that you know how to budget your money before they give you this loan. They also, so that takes time. You have to meet with them, sit down and meet with them. And then they could require as much paperwork as they want because everything is manual. It's old school and it's manual and it's not in a program, and the program's not spitting out information. So you got to have the time. One, I think this program would work better for somebody that's like in a month to month, because you have the time. If your lease is coming up in the next 30 days or 60 days, he even told people this is not for you because it takes time. They're manually doing this stuff in Richmond. And also, too, if the contract runs out, our contract here in Hampton Roads will allow you 10 days if there's a problem with processing the loan or any title defects. If you have a problem with processing a loan in Naca, it's not going to be 10 days. From what I can hear from these Facebook groups, it could be another 30 to 45 days. So you have to have time. And an agent who's helping another buyer out, they should know that, and I would suggest you put that in the contract. If there's any delays, it's going to be 45 days. If not, your buyer is going to lose out on the contract. They'll lose out on the time they've invested in that property. You'll lose out on your commission. I mean, it's time. Another thing, a con for this Naca program is it's 2 years rental history. So what does that mean? You only have to have 1 year. So when I talked about not income based, they want you at least to be on your job for 1 year. So if you got to have 2 years rental history and you only have to have 1 year of history for working, what does that mean for college students, people who have went back to live with their parents, people who have lived with their parents that haven't, moved out? So it's going to go into, you have to show 24 months of rental income. And so you're going to have to, they have a discretion, it seems like. So what you would do is you would apply, and then they would have the discretion of what they would make you do in order to get the financing. So you're at the mercy of them to find out, hey, will you give me a loan because I lived in my mom's house for, 5 years. And not only do you have to have 2 years rental history, so there's always loopholes, right? I know there's people out there thinking, oh, no problem, I'll get somebody to write me a lease. No. So you have 2 year rental history. They want to see 2 years of bank statements. And you know what they're looking for. They're looking to make sure whatever you say your rent is, let's say it's $900, and they're looking at your bank statement to see did $900 come out of your bank account. So if you're trying to get a Naca loan, make sure your rent is coming out of your bank statement. The next thing, number 5 con that I have is you cannot own a home at the time you're closing on your Naca loan. So this is a true first-time home buyer product. And first-time home buyer loans, for those who don't know, even though when they say first-time home buyers, typically if you haven't had a loan, that type of loan in 3 years, they'll still give it to you. But this is really, So if you have a home now and for whatever reason you wanted to get into this Naca program, because the bonus, I would say too, is that the interest rate is like 1% less than the market. And some things you need to know. So, I already talked about how you still have to have prepaids. I'm going to wrap it up real quick. So, I talked about how you already have to have prepaids. So that is including your closing costs. If you want to pay more in a mortgage, so they're essentially going to look at how much you rent. So if you're renting for $900 right now, but you're thinking, hey, my next house, I want to get a house for a payment of $1,100. So Naca is going to say, well, there's a $200 difference. So home buyer, we want to see that you save $200. Save $200 for the next 3 months before we give you financing. And that's not, hey, I already saved that much already. No. They look at your bank statements for the last 2 years. If you're already saving that $200, NACA wants to see that you save an additional $200. For example, a couple examples he gave is, hey, if you're spending cable, shut off your cable, and that'll, reduce your debt, and that'll allow for the new income. So they want to see that you have some sacrifice and saving that additional amount, whatever that amount is. Also, you need to know, before you close on your NACA loan, before they give you that loan, you have to have your volunteer time. And if I'm not mistaken, it's like 5 times before you can actually close on your NACA loan that you have to volunteer for them. From what I can gather, your volunteer is helping at these workshops that are like 4 hours on a Saturday. I think that can be anywhere in the Hampton Roads, but you got to volunteer with them before you actually do the loan. And that's how they're able to, I think, do these workshops. So, something you got to know about these workshops. So, I've been around in real estate, and I realized I got spoiled of going to meetings. And I thought about this, but I second-guessed myself. So, it's a free meeting talking about giving you money, and I guess Pamela Lewis thinking, well, they got to at least have some water and some snacks there. They didn't have nothing. We were at a church, and I'm so thankful that church had a water fountain because I was parched. I'm getting over a cold now. So things for you also to know. If you go to these homebuyer workshops, which I suggest for anybody to go to, whether you're going to go into the program or not, because it's just a way totally different thought process with home buying. Bring you a covered or a bottle of water and bring you some snacks. Because 4 hours sitting there, I don't know about you, but my mind was going and going and going with other stuff. But you want to have some snacks and some water, definitely. Oh, last thing. If you're self-employed like myself. So if you are self-employed, they're going to go off your net income, right? And that's what a typical lender would go off anyway, is your net income. So you need to know that too. Even though it's not income-based, it is more geared towards W-2, but they do work with people with self-employed. Oh, and you can buy duplexes. There was somebody on the video saying that they don't have any mortgage payment and essentially no mortgage payment because they bought a duplex and the person next to them or in that duplex is paying for the whole mortgage payment. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed my video. I hope that's helpful to some people because I heard word on the street is don't do NACA. Well, you know what? I think NACA is, my summary for NACA is like anything in life. It's like weight loss. It's like any program that these people sell for $19.99. You know what? There's not a one-size-fit-all for anything. And I don't think NACA is a one-size-fit-all. I think it's going to help some people to get in the home. And their interest rate is going to be low, and they're not going to have to spend a lot of money. But I think a traditional home buyer that knows that their first house is the stepping stone, I don't think it's going to work for them. And definitely if you had to be out of your property in like less than, I would say 6 or 7 months, it's not going to work for you because there's no time limit on the paperwork. They could take the whole year if they wanted to, or 2 years on the paperwork. Not saying they will, but you need to know. You got to have time, and you got to be tenacious with turning your paperwork in. So this is Pamela Lewis. Thank you so much for listening to my video. Give me feedback. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be coming out with more videos like this because I think this point in my career, there's a lot of information that I know, and I know the information will help you out. All right, enjoy life. I know I am.